welcome back to the Two Chiefs, One Mike podcast. I'm Mike Hawkins.
And hello, everybody. My name is Scott Hughes, and it is my honor to introduce our guest tonight on what we think is season 2, episode, what, Mike? 4? We think 4?
I think 3,
5?
4, yeah.
3,
yeah,
4, something like that. Chief Noeller is joining us all the way from Colorado. And Chief, you and I have been connected for a number of years through LinkedIn. And all three of us are actually all three connected on LinkedIn. And if we said it once, Chief, we've said it 100 times on this podcast, every police chief should have a LinkedIn profile and promote themselves and what they're doing in their organizations. It's a phenomenal tool. And you have done that. You've done it very well. And we've had some conversations back and forth. And one of the reasons that Mike and I wanted to reach out to you was you are a progressive chief and you're old school, which is awesome. And, before we started recording, you talked about how you have to give your staff credit for allowing you to become who you've become in the agency that you've created. So, we kind of got into a little bit of this off mic or off air, excuse me. But why don't you just first start off, tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, and then we'll just jump on in.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here and talk to you in person, kind of, Scott, and see you, Mike. Been in law enforcement for about 33 years, almost 33 years in January. Started out at a small department outside of Boulder, Colorado called Louisville, not to be confused with Louisville, but worked there for about 2.5 years, came down to Pueblo, Colorado with the department for 30 years. I've had the blessing of being the chief, and I mean that both in the sarcastic way and in the literal way. Being the chief in May, it'll be 5 years.
Nice.
And we have an incredible staff. Like a lot of places around the country, we're struggling with staffing, struggling with retention and recruiting, and those kinds of things. Throughout my career, I spent about 8 years doing narcotics and DEA task force work. Was on the SWAT team, was a sniper, and worked up through the ranks relatively quickly. I got promoted to sergeant in 2011, and I was the chief of police in 2021.
Oh, wow.
So,
nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
How many officers do you have there? And is it how do you say it?
Pueblo.
Pueblo.
Yes.
Say that real slow for Mike. Did you hear that, Mike?
Yeah, it's not Pueblo. It's not Pueblo, or it's Pueblo. So anyway, it's a great community. We're a steel town. We built the people that are from this town, which I'm not. Built the steel that put the rails out west to California back in the day. So it's a pretty tough town in some ways. It's got that little bit of a blue collar. Steel town kind of a vibe, but it's a great community. Everybody knows everybody. Walking through the state fairgrounds is a task to get anywhere because you run into 75 people that you know.
Right.
But it's good times.
So before we get started, two questions. Number one, how far from Coach Prime are you out there in Colorado? And then two, is that a Trojan helmet behind you?
No, it's a Nebraska helmet.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
What's the story? What's the story behind that?
It looked cool on Amazon, so I bought it.
Oh, I love it.
Lord.
Well, hey,
that's a great question, Mike. How far are you from Coach Prime? That's great. That's just what the listeners want to know.
Depending on traffic, 2.5 hours.
You got to know. But hey, so Scott and I have both been on a podcast called Words of the Wise, and she does a great job talking about officer wellness and promoting officer wellness. And I've stolen a lot of ideas from Scott and other chiefs. And offline, we were talking about some of the things that you do. And I think it was eye-opening, some of the things. So why don't you kind of give us a background of the wellness program that you've instituted there at the department, and how's it going?
Well, like I said, when we first started talking about this, I was brought up in this profession in an era where wellness really wasn't. That was your problem. It wasn't the department's problem. And so I'll just put up front that I struggle. I struggle as an individual with some of the ideas that what we're doing now. But I think it's important and this is why it's so huge as a leadership lesson for chiefs. You have got to surround yourself with people that don't think the way you do, because you're never going to be successful if you don't. And if you can't convince the people that are closest to you that your idea is the right one, And by closest to you, I mean, we're a department of authorized strength of 230 officers. So, I have deputy chiefs. If I can't convince my deputy chiefs that the decision I'm making is the right one, then I'm already failing. So if what you're worried about is they're never going to agree with me, well, good, because you should be able to sway them. If what you want to do is the right thing, you should be able to sway those individuals to get on board with the program. So I say that to say this: whatever success we have as it comes to the wellness initiatives that we do in our department, I owe completely to the people that work for me. It is an area that I am not strong in, but we've done some really cool stuff. I mean, we have your peer support, we have your EAP, we have obviously we've had a substantial number of officer involved shootings in our department over the last 15 years, and we have psychologists that we work with for those. We have a psychologist that comes in that we contract with that our officers can talk to. So we're doing all those. Those are really anymore. Those are things that, I mean, not every agency may be able to afford to do some of those things, but peer support is not really expensive. If you don't have a peer support program, you should really try to partner with another agency to get one if you're really small, or work with a large agency that might allow you to use their peer network. Those things are really easy. But what we did, we had an officer that we brought back that was doing some contract work for the military, and he had met this company called O2X while he was working with that organization. And so he brought them in, and they made a presentation to us, and we ended up contracting with them. And one of the things we did was we have a full-time 40-hour-a-week athletic trainer who is in our department. Officers can make appointments with this guy. He's a great guy. He does like cupping, dry needling. He'll put together, like if you have an injury, he'll put together a workout program that will help strengthen that injured area. He works out with our academy. We are in a situation now where I'm fortunate enough, in most government agencies, you have to wait till somebody leaves before you bring somebody on because of our vacancy rate. We have about anywhere from a 25 to 30% vacancy rate right now. We're allowed to bring people on as we're classing up an academy. So he'll start working with those individuals while they're waiting to class up. We'll put them in a report writing unit, and we call it the TRUE unit. It stands for the Report Writing Unit, TRU.
Everything has to have an acronym in law enforcement.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they'll take reports, and while they're doing that, this athletic trainer will work with them, set up programs. He works with our SWAT team, our EOD guys. He works with me. One of the advantages for this, for me personally, is it's gotten me back into getting in shape. And this job, you do it long enough, it'll wear you out. If you
Chief, I love hearing that, because we do a very similar thing here in our agency. I know Mike's looking at doing something in his. We have a contract with a regional like sports medicine facility, and our athletic trainer comes on site. Now, he's not here 40 hours a week, but he's in our government multiple times a week. So it might be PD, public works, fire. But to your point, and I've shared this with a couple other folks on this podcast before, we had an officer, I hired a guy on a Monday, and on Tuesday, he blew out his ACL playing basketball. And because of that relationship with the athletic trainer, he started working with him immediately on strengthening. I'm not a doctor, obviously. I drove by a urgent care a couple times, but he started strengthening the muscles surrounding the knee, I guess. And they were like proactive, and then had a surgery. And then after the surgery, man, they aggressively went after it again. Long story short, this kid came back to work 2 months before he was scheduled to come back to work, because we had the on-site PT and he was aggressive with it. And had we not had that, that would have been 2 months. I'm paying overtime, or, backfilling, doing this, that, or the other. So, man, that's great to hear that you've got a guy on site 40 hours a week. That's phenomenal. What, if you know, and if you don't, it's okay, what has that done to your like workers' comp claims and your sick time and stuff like that, if you know?
Yeah, I don't have the data in front of me, so I can't give you specifics, but it is reduced recovery time. There's been a couple of cases where we've had officers that were injured, like during defensive tactics in the academy, where they didn't even have to go see workman's comp. We're certainly not discouraging that by any stretch, but they were able to get with the athletic trainer that day. It was minor stuff like bruising and maybe some like a muscle strain or something like that. So they were able to get them working out, getting, like you said, building up other muscles to help after the recovery, to not have that repetitive injury. We have an officer who just over a year ago, March 18th of last year, was shot 6 times, uh, 3 times in the leg, and it was 3 times in one of his femur, and then shot in his right shoulder. And he's been working obviously with other professional, like doctors, but the athletic trainer has helped him out a lot. And he's back to work light duty right now. He's one of our SWAT team leaders, and he's a freaking animal. He is no way you're going to prevent him from coming back to full duty and being on the SWAT team again. He was having an issue, like, for example, he was having an issue with running because of the injury. One leg is a little bit shorter than the other, so he wears shoes and whatnot, but this obviously putting different strains on there. So he's been working with the athletic trainer um, about a program where he was running, but his leg would lock up. So there's a certain, and I don't remember exactly what the regimen is, but the athletic trainer working with the physical therapist that he has put him on like a run walk kind of a training curriculum. And he went from a 20-minute mile, and now he's down to 12-minute mile. And this is over the span of about 3 weeks. So he's, see a major reduction in his run time. And I think which will eventually equate to a quicker return to duty, which is what this sergeant wants to do, is get back to work right away. You know what? I would be remiss. Our budget this year is just horrible. So what do you think the first thing I'm going to have to cut is?
Right.
Because it's
Yep.
down to a point of, do I buy 6 patrol cars or do I pay for this wellness program? And my cops love the program, but they don't want to do foot patrol. It's not super effective given the size of our community.
Yeah, and I don't think you can
So
tailor the wellness program into walking the beat. Really, it doesn't work
right,
that way.
right. I don't know that the union would love that a whole lot, but and that's the balance with these programs that is so frustrating, because you'll see the incredible results that you get. See guys that I haven't seen in a gym in I don't know how long engaging and getting in the gym. You'll hear about officers that are overweight, and I'm one of them that is now engaging with the dietitian and trying to get that right. And I think most chiefs, even the old ones that were real hardcore, wanted their people to be good when they left. They didn't want to wring them dry and just, whatever happens to you happens. I mean, no matter how hardcore your chief is, I think they care about you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
I would certainly hope so anyway. So, the goal of you bring in this bright-eyed young man or woman to come into your department and do great things for 20 or 30 years. And then when they leave, I think we owe a little bit to them to do the damnedest we can, excuse my language, to make sure that they're as close to that when they leave as they were when they got here. There's a lot of things we can't control. There's a lot of things that we can. Obviously, I can build you a really nice gym, and we've built the last couple of years because of salary savings. I was able to do some pretty cool stuff. We have a I don't know if I can use the word. We're not paying them, but like a
Yeah, I know
CrossFit
what you.
hit style gym, and then we have a gym in one of our. We took a bay in our annex, and it's a 4-bay high intensity gym,
Yep.
and it's all outfitted. And then we rebuilt our gym in the department.
Are your
Great.
guys and gals? Sorry, Chief. Are your guys and gals allowed to work out on duty?
Not right now.
Not yet.
I think one of the issues we're facing, we have an extremely high call load.
Yeah.
We have a lot of violent crime, and
Mhm.
trying to figure out a way to balance that and
Yeah,
give
it can
that
be tough.
opportunity is very difficult. And I hear it, and I don't disagree with you. Well, you just got to make it happen. Yeah, that's always easy to say. It's not always easy to implement.
Yeah, I know when we started, like we had to oh, maybe not necessarily us, but some other departments who've started it. We were pretty easy, but like they've had to like slow roll it, like, hey, we can only do it once a week, or
Yeah,
and then work up to twice a week, and then the hours were an issue. Like you can only work out between these certain hours because the call volume was so high, and then you had to keep a
right.
radio on, and then it just So I get it, but I mean, the cool thing is I suspect having that facility, even though they may not be able to do it while they're working. That is a gym that sounds like it meets the standards of a lot of modern gyms today, and you don't have to pay for a gym membership. So you're saving probably a significant amount of money. What other and by the way, let me go back real fast. I can really appreciate what you said early on. We kind of missed it, but early on about how, some of the best ideas don't come from you, they come from the people below you. And I know I buy into that philosophy wholeheartedly. We're only successful because of the people that work for us. Certainly doesn't come from this idiot's head here that's talking, but I can really appreciate a chief who understands that, investing in your people or listening to your people. I've been to your agency. I've taught there several times through Caliber Press, and, a great group of professionals that work there who buy into what you're doing and what you're trying to do. And you're right. I can remember being there. I think that Dow was there the night before you all had a shooting, and a couple of the guys were late coming in because they were up all night processing the scene. But nonetheless, kudos to you for that leadership style and the ability to recognize that, because I think we don't hear that a lot around the country from line level folks who think that the chief buys into them or believes in them. So good for you, Mike.
Thanks.
You talked about your call volume. I read somewhere that you had non-fatal shooting team, that you reduced violent crime 40%. What was a program you implemented? How'd you do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was that good of a program. Not for lack of effort from the guys on that team, but
Chief,
I will tell you, Google gave you some credit.
Chief, oh, really? I forgot to tell you, there's math and then there's Mike math. So whichever
Mike math, I might bring him to Pueblo to spread the word, but I'm not sure it was quite that good. Now, maybe in the homicide area, certainly our homicides went down significantly. So just for some backstory, we're a town of about 112,000 people, roughly 50 square miles. We have right now, I think, 163 working cops. We're authorized 230, and we have about 30 people that are in training or injured or otherwise out. So over the last 4 years, we've had 119 murders. We've had, gee whiz, I don't even know how many drive-by shootings. We are up 160 drive-by shootings a year, probably 190 a couple years. We brought that down a little bit last year through some work from our non-fatal shoot team. We probably average about 40 to 50 non-fatal shootings a year. So when I talk about a high call load, it's real. It is intense. And over the last 10, 15 years, I think we've had 60 officer involved shootings. So just as a backdrop for what I'm about to talk about. So we originally applied to be a public safety partnership community. We're accepted. And then there was some difficulty over the last year where we were not allowed to participate in the program. I think that had something to do with some decisions made at the state level, but I'll just leave it at that. But we're back in that program. But as part of that program, with the first couple of meetings that we had, it was brought to our attention about this non-fatal shoot team concept. And basically what it is you investigate non-fatal shootings as if they were homicides. So what we created, we had a proactive team called our impact team. And given as I don't have a whole lot of extra manpower, what we ended up doing was taking that impact team, which was really kind of a anti-crime, anti-gang style team, very proactive, and we started making them, we converted them over to our non-fatal shoot team. We did that probably in March of last year, maybe May, somewhere in that time frame. And in the course of that year, they investigated, I want to say 50 non-fatal shootings. The solve rate that they've been able to do is pretty phenomenal. And I think it is anywhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60% of those cases that they've actually solved and at least brought a case forward to the DA's office. Now, we have an incredible partnership with the FBI through Safe Streets, the local FBI, the office. We have 2 agents that work out of our building from the Colorado Springs resident office. We have an incredible partnership with ATF and DEA. I was actually a DEA task force officer. So with those federal partners, they've been a great help. We take a lot of those non-fatal shootings that are appropriate. The U.S. Attorney's Office here at Colorado has taken a number of those cases, and we've gotten some pretty significant sentencing. And I think what we're seeing as a result of those that decrease that you were talking about earlier with the shootings and the murders is because we're getting some of these shooters off the street before they're killing somebody. We do have ShotSpotter in our community, which has also helped us, I think, reduce the number of homicides because it is amazing. They tell you when they come in, 80 to 90% of your shots fired calls, you're not even getting a phone call on, and they are not wrong. Um, it's probably as high as 95% in our community. The
Wow.
calls, the ShotSpotter alerts we get, we don't even get a call from a citizen. So we're getting to a couple of those a number of those calls in time to actually render aid to the person that's shot, so they get to the hospital and they're not dead. And I think there's roughly 20 to 21 cases where we can attribute an officer getting to the scene fast enough to render aid to potentially having prevented a murder. Now you never know for sure because maybe they would have still been okay, but and when we're talking about putting tourniquets on people to stop arterial bleeding, when we're talking about putting blood clotting on a wound or those big bandages that they have that stop bleeding you, and that's what we're talking about. I think that's also helped us reduce the number of homicides that we've had. Our historical average for homicides is 13, uh, anywhere from 10 to 13 a year.
It's
And
interesting to hear that aspect too, because Scott and I come from mid-sized to smaller agencies, and a lot of people we see don't have the amount of officers you have or have a lot of that violent crime. So when you go to conferences, you see the shot spotter. Okay, does it work? For us, it's not going to work in our town, but
sure.
to see, somebody who uses it and the benefits. And if I was doing your math, it would definitely be 20 plus that you saved there by the shot spotter.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it'll probably be like 40 saved, but if you're doing the math. um
I like
Anyway,
it.
I mean, it's had a great impact. And so what we're hoping to do now that we're back in with PSP is start seeing what other departments are doing with their non-fatal shoot team, work a little bit better, and bring some experts in that can talk to our DA's office about the prosecution angle. uh, it's interesting, this attack on our profession on a national level hasn't just impacted law enforcement. Our district attorney's office is at 50% staffing, and they cannot get attorneys
Mhm.
because people just don't want to be part of this process where
Mm.
you're just being ridiculed every day for everything that you do. And you talked earlier about before we got on about how I'm outspoken. I am fairly outspoken, and maybe to the detriment of what some people think about me as a chief. But I don't really want to be a chief again. So I really don't care. I'm just going to tell you what
I
I
love
think.
it. I
And,
love it.
if you like it, cool. If you don't listen to me.
Well, I
Um,
suspect, Chief. Again, I was at your department a while back. It's been several years since I was there. My gut tells me your people love you and they appreciate you being outspoken. I'm outspoken more than probably a lot of chiefs like you. I'm blessed with a phenomenal group of elected officials that have my back. As long as I don't say anything too stupid, they align with me. They see the big picture and the problems as the
right,
profession. Because what happens in Colorado is affecting here in Ohio. It's affecting
right,
Michigan and blah blah blah. So
yeah.
listen, this is a short episode. I know Mike has to jump to a meeting, and Chief, I know you're working. Before we let you go, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. You've been around for 33 years.
33 years coming January.
33 years. You've seen a lot. You work in a state that's interesting, but you're doing what you can do. What would you say to someone who's listening or watching this who is thinking about becoming a chief? Maybe they're a sergeant or they're a lieutenant and they're like, you know what, I think I want to do this. If not me, who else? And we need fighters out there that are gonna advocate for the profession. What one piece of advice, in a minute or two, would you give someone who's thinking about wanting to become a chief of police?
Well, I think number one, you need to check on why you want to do the job. I mean, 'cause if it's just about being a chief, then let me just save you the trouble. It's not worth it. It's really the headaches, the late calls, the worrying about your cops, worrying about the city. It's not worth just the title. And if that's all you're after it for, then do yourself and everybody else a favor and just stay where you're at or be a deputy chief. Now, if you want to make change, if you want to bring good things, if you want, I mean, and no matter how good a department is, I guarantee you there's somebody here that's looking at my job and saying I could do it better. And good for them. And I hope that they do, because it's not for lack of effort that I haven't done some things, but I think those are the two things I would tell you. And I would say that, one of the things that struck me, so the guy that retired and I stepped into his shoes, he had left the country for a couple of weeks to visit a family member. And so essentially for like 2 weeks when I was acting chief, he really wasn't available. And I thought, well, I know I couldn't even call him if I wanted to. So I know what it's like to be the chief. There is really no way I can prepare you for what it's like to be the chief, other than you need to surround yourself with great people. You need to not be afraid to hear no. You need to check your ego every day you walk in the door, because it's not about you, but it is about you. It's about how you show up. It's about how you care about your people. It's about how you're going to make mistakes, and are you going to own them, or are you going to pretend like it's not a big deal? Are you going to tell people you're sorry when you screw up? Because if you don't, you're going to be expending capital you don't need to expend. And it really comes down to just putting your ego in check. One thing I would say for sure is you have got to become friends with other chiefs,
Yeah.
because there's no other way to alleviate some of this stress. As a deputy chief, I had another deputy chief I could complain to. As a captain, I had 7 other captains I could complain to. As a sergeant, I had 30 other sergeants I could complain to. But as a chief, you really don't want to be complaining to your deputy chief about stuff, or your captains or your sergeants, although that does sometimes happen. So you need to make friends with other chiefs, because they can be your peer support group,
Yeah.
and help you through some of these processes. So I don't know if that's great advice.
That's
That's like
perfect.
spot, but
That's money. That's
Yeah, I think
money.
that's great. We usually end it with somebody saying something or a quote, but I don't even think we need to at that point, because that's spot on, and
Yeah.
it's great advice, and tell some people to look in the mirror sometimes. And I remember when I took over, I called a chief from, I don't know, 4 or 5 chiefs, and I'm like, I'm sorry. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, you were
Oh yeah.
right, and I was that guy at 5, 6, 7 years on. Man, I
Yeah.
must have gave you a hard time, but now I know what you're talking about, and it,
If
it
I
takes a
could, funny
while.
story. I was a bit of a goon when I was a patrolman. I thought I knew everything about everything, and I got promoted to captain. And I worked graveyards, but I come in during the day on a Tuesday, and I got a sergeant that I worked for sitting there, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, we're just sitting there shooting the bull, and I look at him. I said, Dave, I'm sorry, man. And he goes, for what? I said, for all the shit I gave you as a patrolman. I was horrible. And he goes, you weren't that bad. You had to keep my eye on you sometimes, but you weren't that bad. But I mean, it's the same thing exactly. I mean, we've all been there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Well, Chief, listen, this has been a great conversation. Phenomenal work you're doing out there in Colorado. Keep taking care of your people. I love the wellness. I love the athletic trainer. I'm just so glad to hear other chiefs jumping on board. I've seen the benefits for about the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and
it's awesome.
sounds like you're seeing the same thing. So kudos, and thanks for coming on the podcast, Mike.
No, I appreciate. I try and steal as many ideas as I can. We've got the workout policy coming as soon as the new station gets there. The mental health resources. It's again podcasts like this, talking to people like you, Chief, that make sure you let people know we're on the right path of doing things, and we're implementing these programs. We're at the infancy stage, and it's nice to hear them working at other places. So I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on. Join us next time on the Two Chiefs, One Mike podcast.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
1,